All right, chapter 34. Thanks for listening in. This is Jacob speaking, and we are studying and going through the book of Job, and we are learning incredible much. It's thought to be the oldest book of the Bible, and the literature and language of Job alone are worth your while to take a look and read this book. It's incredible. Job is an incredible man, went through incredible suffering because of a conversation behind the scenes in the cosmic realm between God and Satan that gives us insight into why Job was going through the pain and suffering that he went through. And so we're going to pick it up here in 34. I'd encourage you to listen to the previous chapters and do some study on your own. But yeah, Elihu is a young lad, and he's the fourth friend, fourth person to stand up and speak to Job. The first three were miserable comforters. They didn't comfort Job. They didn't speak what was right. And Elihu finally speaks up, and he was afraid to speak up because he was young in age. And Elihu was fully attentive, and it just goes to show that a lot of older people pass over things, miss things. They don't pick up on things, and that young people do. So we should be paying attention to the young people. Maybe I'm considered young to you. I don't know. I'm 31, so maybe I'm Elihu's age. Who knows? But chapter 34. Then Elihu said, "Hear my words, you wise men. Listen to me, you men of learned. For the ear tests words, and the tongue tastes food. Let us discern for ourselves what is right. Let us learn together what is good." Job says, "I am innocent, but God denies me justice. Although I am right, I am considered a liar. Although I am guiltless, his arrow inflicts an incurable wound. What man is like Job, who drinks scorn like water? He keeps company with evildoers. He associates with wicked men. For he says it profits a man nothing when he tries to please God." Verse 10, "So listen to me, you men of understanding. Far be it from God to do evil, from the Almighty to do wrong." That's a great place to start. That's a great place to understand. That's some real wisdom about who God is, how he is completely true, without error, without fault, without sin, without doing any wrong ever. And that's a good verse to just meditate on. Verse 11, "He repays a man for what he has done. He brings upon him what his conduct deserves. It is unthinkable that God would do wrong, that the Almighty would pervert justice. Who appointed him over the earth? Who put him in charge of the whole world? If it were his intention, and he withdrew his spirit and breath, all mankind would perish together and would return to the dust." That's true words about the power of God. I've thought of this a lot. If God created the heavens and the earth by speaking with his breath, how much more so if he actually lifted a finger or used his right arm or stood up and did some heavy lifting? I don't think we know. I don't think we have any idea what that would look like. But Elihu here is revealing the fragility of life, how fragile we are, how fragile all humanity is. And just like that, God could just wipe it off. But thank God he doesn't. He won't do that. He will when he creates the new heavens and new earth, but his people will be saved. Verse 16, "If you have understanding, hear this. Listen to what I say. Can he who hates justice govern? Will you condemn the just and mighty one? Is he not the one who says to kings, you are worthless, and to nobles, you are wicked? Who shows no partiality to princes, and does not favor the rich over the poor, for they are all the work of his hands. They die in an instant, in the middle of the night. The people are shaken, and they pass away. The mighty are removed without human hand. His eyes are on the ways of men. He sees their every step. There is no dark place, no deep shadow, where evildoers can hide. God has no need to examine men further, that they should come before him for judgment. In other words, God is in every place. He sees every single man, everything they're doing, not just physically, but their motives, their thoughts, their intentions of their heart, their hopes, their desires, their dreams. There's no place that evil can hide. That's comforting. Living in a very wicked and evil world. Verse 24, without inquiry he shatters the mighty and sets up others in their place. I wonder if that's, well, I kind of believe it. I kind of believe that Donald Trump becoming president is a complete overthrow of all the corrupt government of the United States. All that is, I just kind of see Trump as a overthrowing of that. I mean, the guy put up his own money, put his own skin in the game, paved his own way, and is now president of the United States. And of course, behind all that is God. God's in control of that very detail. And the mighty, the press, the people in D.C., they thought that they were standing strong and had everything figured out and that Hillary Clinton was going to win by a landslide. And quite the contrary. A lot of people had their eyes opened to somebody else, obviously. But here, thousands and thousands of years ago, Elihu is testifying to that same truth. And that's what's so beautiful about truth. It's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Truth isn't unchanging. It's not a shifting shadow. It's not a reed in the wind. Your truth and my truth are not different. Truth is truth. Truth hits home. Truth is unmoving. And I love that. I love that we have truth. And the embodiment of truth was Jesus Christ. Everything he spoke was truth. And that's something we're looking at here. Elihu is bringing that to the surface. In 24, it says, without inquiry, he shatters the mighty. Without inquiring, even, he shatters the mighty. Without investigating, God wipes him out. And sets up others in their place. Think of Alexander the Great. I can't not think of the political elites in Washington, D.C., and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, and how God just pushed him aside and threw Donald Trump in there as president. It's incredible how things work out. Because he takes note of their deeds, verse 25, he overthrows them in the night and they are crushed. God's taking note of all that you're doing, Christian, of all you're doing, non-Christian. God is taking note. And it's humbling words in 25. 26, he punishes them for their wickedness where everyone can see them, because they turned from following him and had no regard for any of his ways. They caused the cry of the poor to come before him, so that he heard the cry of the needy. But if he remains silent, who can condemn him? In other words, if God, perfect, decides that he's going to be silent, who is worthy to point a finger at God and condemn him? if that's what God so chooses to do? Nobody. If God speaks up, who can condemn him? Nobody. That's who God is. That's what God is. And verse 29, if he hides his face, who can see him? Yet he is over man and nation alike, to keep a godless man from ruling and laying snares for the people. I have to believe, to some extent, that Donald Trump is one of these surprises that God throws into humanity. Instead of a corrupt, baby-killing, murdering Hillary Clinton becoming president, God put Donald Trump in there, who we know is friends with Christians, James Dobson and Billy Graham and Franklin Graham, and is pro-life. Whether he acts on that is one thing or another, but it's what he's claimed to be. Those are good things for a president to abide in and have as part of his context. Verse 30, to keep a godless man from ruling and to laying snares for the people. How many snares does this country, the United States, have from the government? My gosh, everywhere you go, everywhere you turn, red tape, problems, corruption. I mean, they have baby killing centers all over this whole country. It's terrible. Snares for people. Verse 31. Suppose a man says to God, I am guilty, but will offend no more. Teach me what I cannot see. If I have done wrong, I will not do so again. Should God then reward you on your terms? When you refuse to repent, you must decide, not I, so tell me what you know. Men of understanding declare. Wise men who hear me say to me, Job speaks without knowledge, his words lack insight. Oh, that Job might be tested to the utmost for answering like a wicked man. To his sin he adds rebellion. Scornfully he claps his hands among us and multiplies his words against God. You and I have not been through suffering like Job. And Job apparently handled it awful. Apparently he responded in rebellion and wickedness and self-righteousness and perverted truth and perverted what was really going on. How much more so do we do that? And we're not going through suffering that Job went through. We're going through our own sufferings, but they're nowhere near what Job has gone through. So just to put something on the balance, put something on the scales, is an example of what suffering does and how it's handled. I don't think anybody, especially Job, any one of us would handle suffering better than Job. The only person who probably handled suffering better than Job was Jesus. He handled it perfectly. But this is Elihu speaking. He's a young lad, and it's some profound wisdom.